Jimmy Butler's being traded from the Timberwolves. The long-awaited trade of Jimmy Butler finally being traded from the Timberwolves after a long, grueling, horrible season to watch, into which Jimmy Butler was sitting out games with general soreness, and the reawakening of Derrick Rose in the Minnesota Timberwolves uniform. Finally, the Minnesota Timberwolves has come to their senses and finally traded Jimmy Butler. Now, this trade is something to where I didn't see coming in terms of who the team got traded to. This was the team that I thought that they were staying pat. They were going to gear up and they're going to try to build their young guys and see where they can go. But they recognized that Markelle Fultz wasn't coming along far enough. He hadn't taken the next step and they needed to make a move. They missed out on LeBron. They didn't get no major free agents and they decided it was time to make the move. And that team was the Philadelphia 76ers. They essentially traded Robert Covington and Dario Saric for Jimmy Butler, and they also traded a second-round pick. The trade details are still coming out, but this was an amazing trade for the Philadelphia 76ers. They needed to get somebody that can close out games. Now, Joel Embiid has been fantastic. Ben Simmons has been pretty good. Markelle Fultz, he's still struggling. He keeps on getting made fun of about his shot. He's not really taking the next step. At this point, you wonder if his shot is just broken. Like, it's just no way to fix it. This was a move that had to be made to me, in my opinion. When you see how Toronto is playing, you see Boston, they haven't quite hit their stride, but you know Boston, they got the team, they're loaded, they're deep. You see what they did to them in the opening game of the season. They just can't beat them. They needed a guy that can close the game. He's not necessarily a shooter, but he can shoot good enough to where he can help the team. This was a big time trade that needed to happen. Now, in terms of the Timberwolves side, they got players that are not franchise changing players. They didn't get no extremely good young player. They got Robert Covington, a very nice 3-and-D guy. They got Dario Saric, a guy that can hit the three, nice player that can play along with Cat. Him and Cat. You got Wiggins, you got D Rose now. You see what happens with D Rose. Is he now kind of a guy that they look at and say, yo, we can build around this guy with Cat and Wiggins? Who knows? But to me, Minnesota Timberwolves, they're not making the playoffs. Tom Thibodeau probably might be getting fired at the end of the season. And that's why he didn't want to trade Jimmy Butler. Because if he balled out and he had Jimmy Butler, then you know what would have happened? He wouldn't have got fired. But unfortunately, that's not how things work. You can't be selfish in this business. Now, of course, I wish my team, the Miami Heat, was able to get Jimmy Butler. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But at the same time, I'm happy for Jimmy Butler. He gets to go to a team that's one of the big three in the East. Actually, big four, because Milwaukee, we saw what they did to Golden State. This is something that needed to happen. By the way, Milwaukee was another team that was coming. A lot of people thought Milwaukee's now better than the 76ers. So this was a trade that still had to happen for the 76ers, for them to regain that spot. It's a team that people look and say, that team can challenge Golden State in the future. That team could go to the NBA Finals this season. To me, it was something that needs to be happening. I'm happy for Jimmy Butler. Big time trading in the NBA. Yo, it's L.A.B. Like and subscribe.